Yeah, thank you, Griff and Aisha. For more on the situation at the southern border, we're joined by former acting director of ICE and Fox News contributor Tom Homan. Tom, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it, as always. Let's start off with a little-known plan that has just been unveiled by the Biden administration and is now enacted, that is now allowing asylum officers on the border to grant asylum to certain people that they deem eligible, that have, that fear for their life. If they think that it's credible, these asylum officers on the border can now grant asylum, and they no longer have to go to an immigration judge or court. The administration says this is an opportunity to really fight against the backlog, some 1.7 million people who are waiting for their court cases to be adjudicated. What is your response, Tom, to this latest plan, that has been unveiled over the last 4 days to try to swiftly grant asylum?
Well, once again, the administration is lying. Look, the secretary goes out and they say the Trump administration, they inherited a dismantled immigration system. No one's dismantled the immigration system more than the Biden administration. The president signed 90 executive orders basically abolishing all the policies we created under President Trump to give us the most secure border in my lifetime. And this new policy is just the latest example of them ignoring federal statute, ignoring the laws that are enacted by Congress on how asylum process is supposed to work. So rather than seeing an independent judge who makes a determination based on the facts of the case and the law, they're going to send them to a CIS employee who works for the administration, who is not independent. So here's the truth behind this. The administration knows that 9 out of 10 Central Americans who claim asylum at the border never get relief from U.S. courts because they either don't show up in court or they don't qualify. But they don't like those numbers. They don't like 90% fail and get ordered to be removed. They want those numbers to increase. So how they do that? They change the asylum process. They already changed the rules while it qualifies for asylum. It's supposed to be fear and persecution from your home government because of race, religion, political affiliation. Now they want to add, is there domestic violence involved? Is there gang violence in the area? They're adding all these other issues so more people can qualify. Then instead of putting them in front of an independent judge and having an ICE attorney there to ask questions, they're going to have an employee rubber stamp applications to increase that 90 to greatly decrease the 90% denial rate. That's the end game here.
Yeah, so the administration says that these asylum officers on the border will not be able to deny somebody asylum, but if they believe that it's credible enough, they can accept the asylum process, fast-track those cases, and these other people that would be denied would somehow be fast-tracked in the court system. We'll see. Let's look at these numbers real quick.
That was a great point. So they're going to give them a second shot at the apple, right? So either they get awarded, but if it's no, then they can see a judge and take a second shot at it. This administration can say what they want, but the facts are out there for people to see.
Yeah, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, has filed a lawsuit. We'll see where that goes. We'll look at the numbers this fiscal year compared to last fiscal year. You can see 1.2, pretty much 1.3 million border encounters so far this fiscal year, up 73%. Almost double what we saw last year, and last year was a record. What do you make of the messaging from this administration, and what do you think is going to happen over the next 3 or 4 months? Title 42 is still in place, but with this new messaging, how do you think that's going to affect things?
Look, their messaging means nothing. They can say don't come, now's not time to come, but when they keep passing policies like the asylum rule, saying ICE can't arrest somebody for simply being here illegally, when they shut down detention, they go back to catch and release. When they make all these promises, people are going to come. The most vulnerable people are going to put themselves in the hands of criminal cartels that come to the United States. And something Griff mentioned I want to foot stomp on. They say that Biden's policies are so much more humane than Trump's policies. More migrants have died on U.S. soil under the first year of Joe Biden than any year in my career. So where's the AOCs? Where's the Congressman Castros that ran to the border when a child died under the Trump administration? But now you have record migrants dying on U.S. soil, and no one's saying anything about the chaos down there. And add to that the over 100,000 opioid overdose deaths of opioids coming across the border because Border Patrol's no longer on the line. 70% of them are off the line dealing with this crisis. Where are all the people that were concerned about life, not just the migrants, the U.S. citizens? This administration's policies are creating a lot more death than we ever saw during any other administration I worked for, and I've worked for 6 of them.
Tom, last question, and quickly here. Sorry, because we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask you, Remain in Mexico policy under the Trump administration, Title 42, all of these seem to be temporary policies and fixes. It's been part of the frustration on people at the border. Do you believe that the Remain in Mexico policy, which is now in the hands of the Supreme Court, should that policy be the law of the land permanently? Is that the fix here for asylum cases? People should wait in Mexico until their asylum case is adjudicated?
Knowing that 90% don't qualify based on court data, knowing that less than 6% leave when ordered removed by judge, it's the best case scenario. It's a game changer. It helps secure the border. I filed an affidavit with Texas in that lawsuit. We won the lawsuit. I hope the Supreme Court backs us up on it because it helps secure the border, which saves lives.
Tom Homan, former ICE director and Fox News contributor, appreciate you as always. Thank you. Aisha.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.